Lynn Stiegler. Thank you for being on Behind the Fiction. This is exciting.
I'm excited to be here.
You and I talk fairly regularly, so this is sort of just a normal conversation for us, but we're bringing people into it, which is going to be kind of fun. And we're going to focus on what you have accomplished at LMBPN over the course of the last several years in building this machine for editing books.
Yes, it'll be 3 years, May 1st.
Really? Oh, I didn't
Yes,
realize that. I didn't realize there
yes,
was an actual anniversary date.
there is.
Are we
Yes.
doing something special, like sending you donuts or something?
I think Michael has planned to give me 5 books that day. Nearly as I can
Yes.
tell, that's how we celebrate around here.
Now, you do have with Zoom, sometimes you're not doing it for this, but you have a habit of putting donut backgrounds up behind you.
I do. I actually don't eat donuts. I don't like them very much, but that's always to torture Michael. Especially when he started not being able to go out. The first thing I put up was croissants because I knew he missed his breakfast. Um, and then the Krispy Kreme donuts, which we all know about if we watch his Facebook posts.
Yes.
So.
Well, that one got me the other day. I was really hungry when I saw the Krispy Kreme. Yeah, I love those Krispy Kreme donuts. So let's take a step back in history. There was a time when you had some extra time for reading, and you started going through the books of the Cortherian Gambit. So kind of walk us through what that was about and how it went and what you did when you reached a certain point with the books.
Oh boy, it was so long ago. I hardly remember when I had a time for reading. The Basically what happened was I came across Death Becomes Her. I'm not really sure how anymore. I thought it was BookBub, but I don't know now because I think it wasn't. But I had very bad bronchitis. I was sitting on my lazy boy couch for 2 days, wrapped up in a blanket, and I read the first 16 books, which is all there were at that time. And I got done with them. And being an editor, I kind of edited them in my head and found the guy on this guy Enderly on Facebook, and I shot him a message and I said, "Hey, I really, really like your books, and does your company need an editor?" Because I was interested in getting in with especially with the author notes and things and the people who were doing these. It was, and I was about ready to go back to work. I'd retired, so so it just seemed like a good place to be. So I got hold of him. We started talking. I had a background with Baen books because my husband is a Baen author and or was a Baen author. Now he's an LMBPN author. And and so Michael wanted to hear stories about the old timey sci-fi writers, and I had met a bunch of them at various times. And so we started talking, and then next thing I knew, that was we talked on April 29th, 30th kind of thing. And on May 1st, 2017, he said, "I've got a book for you."
And that is so Michael. It's just the way things go is so fast. And I remember hearing the story. I don't know if I heard it from you or from Michael, the whole story about you sitting down, being sort of incapacitated for a couple days and reading it and reading all of the books in 2 days, which just like totally blew my mind. And then the
I
fact that
do
you had
that.
you had come from a traditional publisher, you had editing skills with a traditional publisher, and you were retired, and you were crazy enough to think that you could do this kind of like part-time. And how'd that work out
Yeah,
for you?
yeah, yeah. Part-time was not in the cards once we got going with this. It scaled up to where, well, I think our highest month was 2 million words in a month, which is, um, gosh, what, about 30 books?
Yes,
So
it's a lot. It's a
it's a
lot. And I
lot.
remember the first time we got close to that thinking this is crazy. But when you first started, there were other editors in the company, and authors had their favorite editors that they like to work with, and you worked with Michael. And
Yes.
so we'd see these issues coming back from the books that you didn't do, and we didn't see those issues coming back with the books that you did do. So it's like you just sort of became the godmother of all editing. And so everybody kind of all of the other editors sort of started working through you, and then you started building your own team. And that was before actually the big pronouncement about the 400 books, right?
Oh yeah, that was way before the pronouncement of the 400 books. I think what it is that Michael is about easy, and so it just was easy for him to go to one person when he wanted to talk about editing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for whatever reason, the other editors started to phase out. They were doing other things. And at one point, I think I was pretty much doing all the editing for the company. It was
Yeah.
doing about 20 books a month. And I just said, guys, I was actually supposed to be retired. And so Michael said something to the effect of, well, so go find some other editors. And then you can run the team, can't you? And and then I did, with some help from Haley Lawson, another of our authors. She found me some people on Upwork, and I found my sister from another mother, 7 years and a few continents away, Judah Rain, who's
Mm-hmm.
another terrific editor. And so now she and I pretty much run the editing for the company. So
But there are others. It's not just the two of you. There are others, and you guys are sort of jointly managing all of this and all of these words that get processed every month.
we do. We are, and we do, and there are, and the others come and go, by the way. So we find them in various ways. One of them, there was going to be in the 20 books last year, there was going to be an editing meetup, and I sort of read about it, and I put out a post that said LMBPN is looking for a few good people, and met up with a couple of those people, and one of them has stuck with us. So
And one of the things that makes it a challenge for you in finding new editors is the pace with which your team works.
yes, nobody is used to that. If you give a traditional editor, and by that I don't mean a trad pub editor, I mean an editor who isn't used to doing a book every single day of the week like we do, or more than one, uh, less than a month to do a book, they kind of pale and blanch and faint. Um, we say, can I have this back in a week? And what you have to understand is that for Judah and I, the turnaround is one day generally on a book. 2 days usually is the outside. So nobody's used to that. So honestly, I could only give away our books that we have a little bit longer lead time on.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's all Judah and me.
So let's go back to that meeting in Las Vegas a couple of years ago. I don't remember. It was, I think it was in the fall of 2019. Is that right? Or no, the fall of 2018.
The
When
one where I found Courtney, our current adjunct editor, that was 19.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about the meeting where Michael made the 400 books pronouncement.
Oh my God, no, that was 18.
Okay. And that was, I remember being at that meeting going, okay, I guess, and my mind was just spinning. And you're like, yep, I can do that. And, I'll just start building a team. And you were very like, I'm going to do this. And you did it. You went out and did it. You were ready to do 400 books.
We were. I built a team. I had two different editors at that point, and we knew what it would take to do it, and so we did. I mean, what else does one do? That's kind of my background. I'm strong German peasant girl, and you get the work done.
And you also have a great operations background, so you've come from a business world. I don't know what came first, business or editing, or did they? I don't know.
Oh,
How'd that
I've
work
been
out?
in business all my life. I've been in well, I started as a legal secretary, and then I went up to administration and finance, and then I became a programmer. My undergraduate degree is in computer science, and so then I became a database programmer. So all of my background, then a consultant, financial analyst, strategic analyst kind of thing. So all of my background is in making things work one way or another in the most efficient fashion.
And you're really good at that.
I
I
try.
can just say that you're really, really good at that, and you're
Am
good
I
at
allowed
using
to tell
tools to
Michael's
make it work
story
better.
of am I allowed to tell the story of when I said to Michael I could help run his schedule?
Yes, yes.
Can I say that word?
No.
Okay.
You have to use a different word.
Okay, I can do that. So at one point, Michael was bemoaning that he had missed a couple of deadlines, and he says, "I really need somebody to help me sort out my schedule." And I said, "Well, I could do that." And he immediately shot back, "Oh, bleak no," substituting a very Bethany Ann-like word.
Yes, and we can all imagine what that is from reading Michael's books for years and
Yes.
years and years. So
Oh, bleak no.
let's talk about the process for, without getting into the weeds. Talk more about the team that you've built, not in specific people, but in like functional aspects of the team.
The functional aspects well, the two top players in the team, me and Judah, have very different functions right now. I run getting the books into the hands of the adjunct editors and making sure that they're returned on time, making sure that I have time to do them if they're not, which has happened. I had one person dump 3 books back in my hands 2 days before they were due, and they got out. But anyway, the less said about those days, the better. But anyway, so I know I'm going to get a book anywhere from a day to several months ahead of time, and boy, does it vary.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets integrated into our schedule. One of the things when Michael made that 400 book pronouncement is we used to turn books around in literally a week. Oh, I just said the word literally. That's Michael's favorite word to take out of books right now, and mine actually. But it was literally a week. We would get it from the author, we would edit it, it would go to the JIT team, and it would publish a week later. That's unheard of in Trad
Mm-hmm.
Pub. And it was actually a fairly high quality product at that point. It wasn't your average indie book. But when he said that 400 books thing, I said, oh no, no, no. We have built a well-oiled machine here at LMBPN, and what will happen is that books will come in if it's a new book, new author, new series, or a series that has had a lot of suggestions made for it in the past. It will go to what we call our beta team, which are some of our JIT readers who are very, very good at sorting out story issues
Mm-hmm.
for the author. They don't do any kind of proofreading at that point. They're just sorting out story issues for the author. And depending on the severity of the issues that they send back to the author, the book either doesn't go back to the author or the author turns it around fairly quickly, goes back through beta one more time if there were issues, and then, or more times, some books have gone through 4 times. But then eventually it ends up in the hands of editing. And once it's in, we need 2 weeks from the beginning of the process of editing till it goes to publication, just because we have so many other books on the schedule and we
Mm-hmm.
reserve the right to shuffle them around a little bit. Then we do our editing in our 1 to 2, however many days it takes when the book actually is first up on the schedule. Then it goes to our just-in-time reader team, who is a fabulous team of people who have volunteered with the company, actually many of them since before I got here 3 years ago. So that's a loyal team. And they know, they go through the book the final time, catch any oopses that Judah or I have left, and then it goes to publication. What Judah does is she actually runs the zoo universe. She has a team of people she calls her zookeepers, and so they are building a canon, a wiki for that universe, if you will. And so when we get someone who wants to write in that universe, their books go through her, and she says, yes, you can do that with the universe. No, you can't do that with the universe, etc., kind of thing. She also does a number of other series as well, on which she's very knowledgeable. So we tend to specialize in authors and series because you have to know the background of the series to effectively edit it. The character, you have to keep the continuity on the characters. So we both have our own series.
Now, one would think, in hearing you describe all of this, that you must be housebound. You can never leave because you're always chained to your desk doing editing work. But that's not really the case for you and your husband, Mark.
No, well, last year we spent 2 months in Europe, which was delightful. It takes a little planning, it does, but my normal day is, well, I'm a night owl, so I generally work opposite hours from pretty much, well, say you. Uh, you and I tend to meet up about 3 in the morning when you get up, and I'm kind of a couple hours from going to bed. So we I will get up, I will goof around for a couple of hours. Before we were all housebound, we would go out to lunch, have a very leisurely lunch. That's when I do the most of my reading for the day, is during that lunch. So that's kind of getting me out of my office. My office consists of a tan-colored lazy boy love seat, which I occupy with a dog, who then fights me for the pillow on which I put my trackball. But anyway, and then so once I come home, with my coffee in hand, because we go to Starbucks drive-through, must be drive-through, can't get the one in the supermarket. Every day we have our routines here, we must follow them. Excuse me. And then I plop down on my sofa, read while I drink the first part of my coffee, and then it's on to work. So, and then I'm pretty much there. Well, I've been known to goof around. I like backgammon. So, but then when we were in Europe last year, we would get up and we would go to the marché, or if we were in France, or the plaza, or wherever we were, get a coffee and a croissant, take our walk, see some things, come back, work for a few hours, and then have dinner, and then go home, and then I'd work for some more hours. So I didn't miss seeing anything by doing that. We had a delightful time. So.
Yes, and I find it inspiring the way that you and Mark just go everywhere, and that sort of I know you plan because you're a planner, but you like last year after 20 books in Edinburgh, you rented a castle somewhere. You did an Airbnb at a castle, I think.
No, that was not last year. No, well, okay. We actually went down through Europe, through England, saw a bunch of friends, including our own Nat Roberts, who I understand has been on this series,
Yep, NB
and Mickey
Roberts.
Cocker. And
Hmm.
so, and then after that, we went over to Dublin for the World Con. And then from Dublin, we flew down to France and stayed in a medieval village in an Airbnb in an old medieval tower, is what that was.
Okay, all right.
So we had our own tower lookout that we could go up on top of and look out over the medieval town while sipping our glass of wine in the evening. So
And didn't you and Mark, for a period last year of a week or so, rent a sailboat somewhere and just use that as an Airbnb?
we have been in various boat Airbnbs, but that was not last year. No.
Okay. So a couple
Fort
years ago.
Lauderdale actually was
Was
one
it?
of those. No, no,
Okay.
no. That was in Florida. That was up near Crystal River.
Okay.
We were in a houseboat
Okay.
in
Houseboat. All
Florida,
right.
and that was in January of last year.
Well,
Before.
I find it so cool that you can just like you grab your laptop, you grab, whatever luggage you need, and you're off. And
Yeah.
that's the way
Why
you
not?
guys like to live your lives. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I can work just as well wherever else I am as long as there's Wi-Fi. So when I'm setting my Airbnb criteria, it's always 2 people, 1 bedroom, so Mark can go to bed while I'm still working, and then a Wi-Fi connection. Anything else is irrelevant.
So let's talk for a minute. You are of the LMBPN team, you're the closest to Michael. So you are what, a couple hours away from Las Vegas? A few
About an
hours
hour and a
away?
half.
Okay. All right. So I'll be talking to you, and it's like, well, I had lunch with Michael the other day, or yesterday, or today. And it's like,
Or
oh,
I'm
yeah, I
having
forget
lunch
how
with
close
Michael,
you
or
are.
I'm having dinner with Michael.
Yes, because for the rest of us, it's a big deal to get to Las Vegas. For you, it's you just, even if you're not having lunch or dinner with Michael and his wife, you're just popping down to Las Vegas just for the heck of it.
Oh, yeah, no, we want to go to IKEA. We want to go to Whole Foods. That's where it is. I live in a small town, small being defined as 20,000 people, serving an area with about 40,000 people. And we have a Walmart, but that's about as high class as we get. So if we want to go for something, a real store, oh, we do have a Home Depot. If we want to go to a real store defined as something that's a major national brand, we have to go to Vegas or Phoenix, but Phoenix is farther away. So yeah, we just sometimes it's like, oh, I want to go to IKEA. Let's go up to Vegas. You have to understand, I was born in LA, and so we would go, an hour and a half, 2 hours through traffic not because it's the mileage, it was the time, to
Hmm.
get a good dinner or to get the right ice cream or whatever. So getting in the car and going somewhere. My doctor here is in Flagstaff. That's 2 hours away. As it's 150 miles, but that's irrelevant. It's 2 hours away, which again could be when I took my grandmother in San Diego to the doctor, it was 2 hours away. It was only 20 miles, mind you.
Yeah, different world where you're at now. So
Yes.
we'll have people listening to this and watching this who are authors and wondering, how do I get an editor like Lynn? So your book, by the way, if you're thinking about Lynn, she's busy right now. But how would you recommend that authors who are looking for editors find those editors?
I really wish I knew because I find mine catch can. My best suggestion is to talk to authors who are happy with their editors, and then their editors often know other editors. I'm very insulated here at LMBPN, so I don't often know other editors. But somehow your author friends or your authors that you know in Facebook groups or whatever will know other editors, and they can suggest them to you. Upwork also has editors on it. However, I caution you, editors can have their own ideas. My idea of a good editor is someone who makes your work shine, and the operative word there is your work. You want your editor to preserve your voice, to go out of their way to make it sound like you, not them. So be very careful that the person isn't dictating what you should sound like.
And from an author perspective, what should they expect when dealing with an editor? How would you advise people to deal with an editor? I know for some people, it's like when you're looking for an editor, there's this process of, well, I'll edit the first few chapters of the first 5,000 words or 10,000 words or whatever, send it to me and I'll send it back. That doesn't really gives you a little bit of a sense of what it would be like to work with them. But when you're working with someone over the course of a 20-book series or something like that, you're developing a real relationship. So how should the authors go about their business with an editor as if they want to develop that kind of a relationship?
Both sides are going to have to compromise a little. Michael just told me the story again last night where, when he first got the book back from me, he went through it and he went, okay, 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 yeah, okay, okay, no. And so, but there were a lot more okays than there were no's. And so we talked about the no's and we got to a relationship where at this point he never even sees his books back. Um, he just hands them to me and says, "Get this done."
He is somewhat famous for that, the idea of when I'm done with the book, I'm done with the book.
Yes, yes. So I've been lucky enough to earn his trust in that respect, and I'm honored by that, honestly, because that's his baby, that is his work, it's his voice, it's his representation to the world. So I hope you all find an editor that you can work that way with, that you two can build that trust.
But that's one way that you work with authors. I saw a lengthy chat. I almost had a heart attack this morning when I logged into Slack and I saw the number of messages that were there. But it was because I was included in a chat that you were having with an author where he had some very specific questions and you were offering very specific, almost training level type advice. And so that's
Developmental editing, yes. This particular author, oh yeah, I know which chat you're talking about. Took place about 2 in the morning. That author is in Bali, so that's why it was take at that hour. Um, he is on his second book. His first, I'm not actually his editing his book. One of my adjuncts, Courtney, is, and then I review them before they go to publication. But he had some very specific questions about passive voice, using passive voice, and so we were working through a couple of a couple of sentences. And he said, well, I can get this back to you in 7 or 8 days, or I can go through and remove all the passive voice. And I said, dude, it's you or me, so I really recommend you do this because you're going to learn a lot more by doing it than having me do it for you. And he goes, well, okay. So then he came back to me a couple of hours later and he said, I have this paragraph and I can't figure out if this is passive voice or not. um, he so it was his idea too. Well, yes, that is passive voice. So we went through a thing, and I told him how to recognize passive voice. Then he still, after he made it not passive voice, um, he put in too many words. So then we went through a, do these advance the plot? Just little things like that. That's what you were seeing.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the real values with finding an editor that you can work with, because I mean, unless you have you have this vast experience where you know that everything you're doing is correct, working with someone who can offer correction and advice is a great learning tool. So you're kind of getting a 2-for-1. You're improving your writing by working with an editor, and you get your book edited.
That, yeah, it depends on what you want. I've also had another author frankly tell me, I'm just going to spin the story out there, you fix the rest. So and again, that's a kind of trust that was flattering, but when you're trying to turn a book around in 2 days, that's not necessarily what you're
Yeah,
looking for.
it's not ideal. Yes.
No. So you as an author definitely want to, my advice is to put your book down after you think you finished it, and then go back a number of days later using either a tool like Smart Edit or ProWriter, or even Grammarly to make another pass through it. I say even Grammarly because Grammarly is one of those arrogant editors that thinks it's right all the time, and it's not. So you have to be very judicious with it and reject a number of its suggestions. But Pro Writing Aid and Smart Edit. Smart Edit tells you about repetition. Pro Writing Aid tells you about passive voice. I'm Smart Edit Aid too. I don't use it that much. But anyway, use a tool if you can, or if you can recognize it yourself, just go through it. Make another pass before you hand it to your editor, because the less your editor is slashing down the underbrush to get to the trees, the more they're going to see, and they'll be able to polish your story.
All right, let's finish with one last question, and that is, what's it like to edit the book that your husband has written?
Oh my God. You have to understand that my husband and I both work in the same office, in air quotes, which is our living room. So he's on one couch and I'm on the other. The dogs are snoring in between us. And when I'm editing his book, if I make the mistake of laughing at something he says, what? What are you laughing at? Or if I go, Mark, he'll say, I didn't do it. So I try to edit his books when he's out of the room. Let's put it that way. He and I have very definite disagreements with semicolons and colons, and I say that's fine, but I and the laws of grammar say blah. And so we get along.
Who
So
gets the final say?
he does. It's his book.
Okay. All right.
That's the bottom line. It's not my work. So I'm there
Even
to
when it's
help
your
him
husband.
shine, just like I am my other authors.
All right. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for being here. I think it's great for everybody to get to know you a little bit more, because I think everybody knows who you are from Facebook and
God help
just
us.
seeing your name in all of those books. But you'll see on the dedications page a list of sometimes beta readers, often JIT readers, and then it's either a specific editor or the Sky Hunter editing team. So now you all know what that team is.
That's us.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back again soon. And thanks,
Thank
Lynn, for
you.
being here.